This is called Lux et Umbra. I think I said that right. It's Latin for light from darkness. This is the introduction to formal thought. Light is life. It is pure. It is unadulterated and undiluted. It is without imperfection. Light is the messenger of our vitality and facilitator of the nutrients and nourishment we need to thrive here. Delivered directly through exposure and external absorption, and indirectly through the plants and animals we consume. Light is the sustenance and therefore sustainer of our spirit and of our nature. Light is eternally emanating from the great fire which burns in our heavens. The sun's light and its bright rays filter through our air and warms our bodies. It is ethereal and yet tangible. It illuminates and brightens that which otherwise would stagnate in darkness and decay, thereby giving form and function to that which was otherwise formless and void, empty space with meandering purpose. Light is lovely and buoyant, never dull or depressed. It is deep, resounding, and firmly fixed. It is, in other words, complete unto its own being, and without need of alteration or adjustment. It's as pure and simple as air and water. So light is life, and that is why death comes only from darkness. Darkness has always sought with equal but malevolent intensity to extinguish with all prejudice the flame by which life is so abundantly lit. This dichotomy is the first strong man to overcome in your mind. That is the understanding that there cannot be light without shadow because the light creates the shadow. Everything here is balanced. It is harmonious and interdependent. Light and shadow exist in harmony because of their opposition, not in spite of it. In order for there to be strength, there must exist an equal or greater force to oppose it. Strength is built through resistance. Power is gained through the forces that oppose it. Otherwise, it would be of no effect. We only acquire when we let go, and we only increase when we empty. The system doesn't function properly without resistance, which is shadow or opposition, and without counterbalance, which is darkness and loss. It is the tension between the opposing forces that creates resting potential. Resting potential is energy without focus. It is in between the sinew and fiber, muscle and bone, spirit and flesh, heart and mind of the human, who possessing both conscience and consciousness, a will and a means to carry it out, that the resting potential realizes its full capacity, achieves focus, and discharges, or becomes kinetic energy, or movement. Movement is motion, and motion is kinetic purpose, expressed through focused intent, and moderated through the emotional network, or emotions. Emotions put things in motion because they are motivators. They put energy in motion, emotion, which is simply work, or the power one has with which to manipulate other available fields of energy in one's surroundings. We accomplish these things because we thought to accomplish them. When we think, we are reviewing all of the current and available means through which our action potential can be expressed. The imagination begins to draw from all available data sets and then assembles possibilities and outcomes based on the parameters provided by experience, instruction, intuition, and perception. In other words, you observe, you think, then you do or you act. Committing to action requires thought, no matter the triviality of the thing, and therefore no action is ever absent thought. No matter the action, it is never absent the thought. No cause is ever absent its effect. We must be mindful of this because great is our present suffering due to the consequences of those unwilling to acknowledge they've caused them. If one doesn't acknowledge the harm one has done, then the only way for the injured to gain justice is by committing acts of retribution and retaliation, which in turn gives way to unending escalation of violence and hatred, denial, and unwillingness to reconcile. This is darkness and a repeating cycle of stagnation and death. It is not the way for us. The way is clear if one is quiet, at peace, tuned into the higher frequencies, which is to say, those of love, generosity, humility, and gratitude. These are the optimal settings to which we set the mind, for that is the quantum union of God and man, conscious and consciousness, matter and ether. The mind is an environmental interpreter, infinite capacity memory storage center, reality generator, and quantum transceiver emitter. God imagined man. Then he created him and created in him the ability to create with our imagination. Nothing was ever invented or built that didn't originate in a thought or a vision or a dream. We create, we live, we function according to what we can imagine. In the absence of imagination, we simply tolerate, stagnate, and exist. It is a state of degradation and decay. We become a probability in a vacuum. No stimulus, just darkness. You are buried too deep in the soil for any light to penetrate. The mind is, of course, the soil, and thoughts are the seeds which germinate in the soil or the condition of the mind. Those which are not given water and light die or attention, and those that are given water and light or attention and focus thrive and grow roots. If watered long enough, these thoughts develop deep tap roots that insinuate themselves into the spirit and the heart. That is when thoughts are placed into mental fortresses and fortifications called beliefs. And that's when the trouble starts. We conscript into these fortresses strong men, which are able to withstand any attack, any barrage, and any besiegement by incoming information that would contradict the well protected belief, thereby placing it in jeopardy of becoming an error or even an embarrassing and damning misuse of the mind. So the fortress walls go higher and thicker. They expand outward to include blocking all critical thinking on the subject, and no further information is allowed to cross the moat. And you have become a slave to your beliefs and a prisoner in your own mind. That is not the way, my friends. We must learn what it is to think as a kind, mankind, and how to go about utilizing this supercomputer we inhabit for the benefit of all. We will continue to leave large swaths of us behind and unable to catch up to the few who have. And by that I mean they who are left behind will be hungry and destitute, for sure, if they're left alive at all. Mankind has a serious problem, and it must be mitigated sooner than later because we are, with great fervor, racing towards a precipice from which we will not return. The problem is simple. It is the concept of leaven and how just a little will spoil the whole batch. It is the problem we have with lying, thinking, and believing. That's part one of my thought. I thank you for listening.